A well-known cultural institution in Washington has entered a new phase. What had remained unchanged for many years has now been updated in a noticeable way, and the transition happened quickly. Inside the historic halls of the Capitol, a shift in direction is clearly taking place, one that many people did not expect to see so soon. This moment reflects a meeting point between long-standing tradition and a fresh approach to leadership. Opinions may differ, but one thing is clear: a change is underway, and a new chapter has begun. In 2025, Washington entered a period of noticeable change, reaching institutions that had long remained largely unchanged. President Trump moved forward with a plan aimed at reshaping national cultural organizations, focusing on long-term direction rather than routine administration. As part of this effort, a newly appointed board was installed at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. This was not a routine procedural update, but a deliberate decision about leadership and vision. On December 18th, the board voted unanimously to update the institution's name. It is now officially called the Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. According to the administration, the decision was intended to strengthen the institution's future and clarify its role within the national cultural landscape. The change immediately drew widespread attention and discussion within artistic and public circles. Supporters described it as a renewal, while critics viewed it as a break from past traditions. Regardless of perspective, the decision marked a significant moment for one of the country's most prominent cultural institutions, signaling that a new chapter in its history has begun. For nearly 20 years, the Christmas Eve Jazz Jam had been a familiar part of the Capitol's holiday season. Jazz musician Chuck Redd had led the performance since 2006, and the event became known as a quiet, reflective tradition for many attendees. Following recent administrative changes at the venue, Redd chose not to continue with the scheduled performance. As a result, the Christmas Eve concert on December 24th was canceled. The auditorium remained unused that evening, marking a noticeable break from a long-standing tradition. Reactions to the decision varied. Supporters of Redd described his choice as a personal statement, while the Kennedy Center's leadership characterized it as a contractual disagreement that affected audiences who had expected the annual event. The cancellation highlighted how changes within cultural institutions can have broader effects, even on long-standing traditions, and underscored how public and artistic spaces are increasingly shaped by wider social and organizational debates. The administration did not remain silent following the cancellation. On December 26th, Richard Grenell, now serving as president of the Trump Kennedy Center, issued a formal written response addressing the decision. In the letter, Grenell described the cancellation as a politically motivated action and argued that it caused reputational and financial harm to the institution. He stated that artistic spaces should remain focused on public engagement and that personal political disagreements should not interfere with scheduled performances. Beyond public statements, the Kennedy Center's leadership also indicated that it is considering legal options, citing potential losses linked to the late withdrawal. The situation marked a clear shift in how the institution is responding to disputes of this kind. Rather than allowing informal departures, leadership signaled an intention to address such matters through established contractual and legal channels. The episode reflects an ongoing debate within the arts community about the balance between personal expression, professional commitments, and institutional responsibility. As discussions around the canceled Jazz Jam continue, a separate legal challenge has also emerged. Representative Joyce Beatty, along with several others, has filed a lawsuit arguing that renaming a federal memorial requires formal approval from Congress. The claim centers on whether the board acted within its authority when it approved the change through administrative action. Supporters of the lawsuit describe the issue as a procedural matter tied to how national landmarks are governed. Others see it as part of a broader debate about executive authority, institutional oversight, and the process used to manage historically significant public spaces. Beyond the specific name change, the case raises questions about how national cultural institutions evolve and who ultimately holds decision-making power over them. As the legal process moves forward, courts will be asked to clarify the boundaries between administrative governance and legislative approval. For now, the situation has drawn attention to how leadership decisions at prominent institutions can prompt wider discussions about tradition, accountability, and the frameworks used to guide change in Washington.